Right. I really liked your adult to child metaphor because I was just thinking about it the other day, when you're a kid, you're just in this, state of constant play, constant fun, constant, how am I gonna y- amuse myself next? And you're always told by your parents, adult life is hard. Adult life is so different. And it isn't until that you've become an adult that you've experienced what an adult is being like that you know what they're talking about. You think it's just, all suits and all work all the time, but it's just a completely different state of reality. Now, an adult can still easily, jump into, playing a game with a kid and being in that state of, imagination, playing and, enjoying yourself like the kid, but he knows how to step out and get back to the adult reality and function that way. So I think it's just I just really like that
Yeah, I
metaphor.
think
It
it
really
works on
works.
a lot of levels too, because like a child has they're building their reality from day one, right? From coming out of the womb.
And it's all based on
Right. They're
information.
building their reality based on information. It's not until it's not until they listen, maybe not listen, but it's not until they have some sort of reinforcement to believe something different. So, like when a child goes to experience a hot stove, right? You say, "Don't touch that, it's hot."
Yep.
And then they touch it anyways. It's not that they're being disobedient, it's about the experience. Like you say, "Don't touch that." And I
But
say,
I don't know
"But
why.
I can touch it." You say, "Don't touch it, it's hot." Well, how hot? It's not that they're
Uh-huh.
necessarily directly being disobedient. It's that they're testing reality as far as,
Mm-hmm.
is what you say real? Is hot really hot? Like,
How
what
real
is
is it?
it's a test, it's a reality test, right? Their disobedience at
Yeah.
a young age needs to be looked at as, testing. And there's plenty of, I would assume, child books on identifying this process, but it's all reality testing. And it's not until that child develops that disciplinary action with their parents that they start obeying and start to understand obedience. And usually that doesn't happen until there's some sort of negative reinforcement from the parent, right? Either a spanking, or
Yep.
go sit in a corner, or like whatever the disciplinary action is. It's not until then that the child says, "I'm not going to do that because of this." It's not necessarily a belief in or an understanding of, well, if I do that again, I'm going to get burned. It's, I'm not going to do that again because I'm going to get, you know, spanking, or, set in the corner, or whatever. You have that negative reinforcement. So that individual, that child, that baby may be experiencing reality completely different, and we impose our reality rules on the fresh new litter. So all these generations
Yep.
that come into play, generation after generation after generation, is assimilated into the reality that's pre-built, that we have already going on. Don't mess this up.
Yep.
Don't mess it up. This is how it works.
Yep.
And you're going to follow it. You're going to
Mm-hmm.
follow it. Because there's powers beyond, a child, right? There's just more. Like a child's not gonna just disobey the whole universe or the whole world, right? Just say no.
Just immediately turn into the Star Child from 2001.
And maybe that's who Jesus was. Maybe Jesus was just like, "I get it."
That's that's what's been going through my head as you guys have been talking. I've been like trying to be patient and let you guys do your stuff, but I've been sitting for like the past 10 minutes. I'm like, isn't there a guy that seems to have been kind of talking about the same exact stuff? Telling people you need to stop existing beyond like money and beyond our natural law of what we're supposed to be doing, what the people have constructed. You need to exist beyond that. You need to love one another and focus on those things. You need to focus on love and expanding yourself and bringing yourself and others higher, right? It's a lot of what you guys have been saying is similar to that. Even the adult to a child thing.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
as I've read the New Testament, to me, when I hear him, he almost seems somewhat tired of being in here. Like he's like, really? Like, what do you guys need now? Okay, yes, you unbelievers, let's go ahead and do it. You know, we'll make water into wine. And they're all like, what? How did he do that? And he's like, how do you not do that? You know, I'm somewhere else, man. I'm existing beyond this. This is just, I'm just here, I guess. You know? It's definitely one of those things where I mean even a lot of different spiritual groups, or I guess you could say religions, definitely talk about existing higher, and you know, I guess you go into enlightenment and all that kind of jazz, but there's definitely a solid foundation based upon stop trying to focus on everything that's here and start focusing on the stuff that's beyond that, that's past this reality that we see now.
On that note, Jake, I remember in the article, back on the article, they were talking about how you could almost uh, achieve the same type of bodily enlightenment from what was it, from Hindu scripts and Hebrew scripts. And I know you know more about those Hebrew scripts than I do.
Well, yeah, I believe the article talked about how it went, how it said it has, you know, synchronicities with Hebrew mysticism, right? So you go
Mm-hmm.
into Kabbalah and that kind of stuff, you know, and that stuff is definitely interesting. You know, you look at the Tree of Life, which is in a lot of different religions, and how that has like these 10 steps of keys to reaching that enlightenment and existing beyond, you know, your own reality. In essence, returning to God, at least in the Hebrew theology, right? So it's certainly interesting stuff to see how this article even relates a lot with how people thought way back in the day, you know, in ancient times when the world was more magical, right? It wasn't science, it was definitely mysticism and sorcery that was kind of the prevailing technology. I don't want to say technology, but structure
But
of
Knowledge.
things.
he did
It was the
say
knowledge
those
of the day.
specific sounds and frequencies that are pumped in, you know, through the headphones to get you to resonate a certain way. That could be done by humming, or you know, just sitting
Yep.
by
Yep.
an air conditioner duct that was blowing at the right, you know, way or whatever. So when you look back at those cultural things that have happened throughout time, they always had like some sort of sound, you know, either a drum or like a gong or bells or these different noises, or humming or singing, or, you know, these different sounds that they were interacting in their spiritual, what would you call it, gathering, you know, their spiritual gathering of getting a certain outcome to happen, with all of those things going on at once. And we would just say that they're old timey rituals or whatever, and we do science. Well, it's all the same, right? That was scientific
It's
too, because
all
it
the
wasn't like
same.
they just, well, we'll just pick this gong, or we'll just pick this type of bell. Like, no, they trial and error. You know, they had trial and error, I'm sure, multiple times, and they probably picked
Hmm.
up on things that they noticed. And it's not like they didn't write anything down. They wrote down everything. You know, with like we've got scripts, we've got hieroglyphics, we've got all kinds of documentation that they were using, you know, back then. Ours is just a different way of going about it. And maybe it's the wrong way of going about it, because we categorize everything
Yeah.
so much to the point that you don't actually know how to attain that stuff, you know. And maybe that's the flaw, is that we're trying to get so much information, trying to analyze everything so much, that we're missing the point of just being, just being, right?
Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
and on that whole, the information idea, it's like, you know, I remember reading the Bible that, seeking knowledge to an extent is, almost going against God, because it's, almost like filling that ego. You know,
Well, yeah, he's specifically talking about like worldly wisdom, right? The wisdom of
yeah.
man, the things that we think up and decide are wisdoms,
So,
right?
on that same note, it's talking about all this knowledge that you're trying to, we try to fill our minds with. It's almost just like technical jargon that, we just fill our minds every day with just this crap, basically.
Yeah, just in search of trying to understand. And he says, "Seek first the kingdom of God." And why would that be important to understand? Even if you're not a religious person, or even if you don't care about God or Jesus or uh, any kind of religion, even if you don't care about it, seek first the kingdom of God. If I was to look at that or just take that to heart, well, if everything in my life that I was to do, if that was the first thing, the first thought I had before everything, the first action I had before everything, like, how do you go wrong? Because you're seeking the domain of an ultimate being, an ultimate thing, the domain of everything that is and ever was. So if you're seeking that first beyond everything else, like, you can only go forward, I feel like, at that point. You don't go
Yeah.
backwards. You only learn more and more and more about what's actually going on here if you were to seek first the domain of everything.